This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
The nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday, and we got a good one. All right, so yes, we're gonna return with a Mike Pillow segment, but wait, hold on. It is kind of interesting, and it has to do with ballot drop boxes. That is a major concern. In fact, we're also going to talk about how voters in Arizona are getting a little tired of being watched, the ballot drop box. So we're going to talk about that. I was going to say the ballot box, but, well, I mean, yes, ballot box, drop box, same thing. We are also going to talk about some new emails, yes, involving Clarence Thomas. We have a sheriff giving some bad advice leading to bad things that have happened. Is he sorry about it? Well, we'll see. We have a TERF that is harassing women in a bathroom. I'm not kidding. We've got that video. Yeah, fun times. So we got a good show today. Lots of interesting stuff we're going to talk about. With that said, please like and share the stream. Very important to do so. And as always, you can super chat, you can super thanks, you can do subscriptions, you can, all that stuff on all the various different platforms. With that said, dive in with a little Mike Pillow action. Mike Pillow is back with a brand new rant, which means it's time for another episode of Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell really wants you to know that he's got his eye on you. That's right. And he's watching you when you vote.
And I'm telling everyone out there, we are watching from every angle. There's people in every state, every county, every precinct, Brandon. Remember, they might think you can't look and see what's going inside that black box, but we can now in real time. What I'm telling you is this election, it's all eyes. We have all the camera angles. Now everyone would say, well, Mike, why are you telling the bad guys right now? Well, I'm telling them, Brandon, because the way I look at it, it's going to be a win-win.
It's going to be a win-win. I mean, we're literally like trying to do voter intimidation, and I'm telling you that we're doing voter intimidation by watching you. But don't worry, it's going to be a win-win. Look, for those of you who are watching, doesn't that just make you feel all warm and fuzzy knowing that Mike Pillow's out there with the camera watching you? You got all these cameras that are watching you put your ballot into the box. Knowing that, hey, if you put more than one ballot, such as maybe a family member's ballot from the same household, they will have you on video and accuse you of being a mule. Doesn't that make you feel great? Again, perfectly legal to take in ballots and put them in drop boxes of people that live with you, registered voters. Big Pillow is watching you. That's excellent, Woozle. That's a great comment. But look, this is the insanity that's going on in this country. Total insanity. How is this not considered voter intimidation? Seems a little intimidating. But see, here's the thing. It's worse than just cameras. Because I've talked about this. This has been news all over the country about armed vigilantes setting up shop next to drop boxes. They're all like dressed up, masks and everything. Ironically, the one time Republicans, right-wingers will wear masks is when they're trying to menace people at the polls. Just saying, a little weird. And guns. And like, oh, we're just going to watch to make sure you don't do the voter fraud. Hey, what you doing? How many ballots you putting in them box? You a mule? Are you a mule? No, I'm not a mule, but you're a jackass. Get out of my way and let me vote. Dipshit. So look, the intent is clear regardless of what they claim. Oh no, we're just protecting the vote. No, they want to scare people. They want to scare people away from using the drop boxes and just voting in general. So now there's a couple of decisions here from a federal judge. So a couple of cases against these armed vigilantes. Now, recently there was a lawsuit from an association for retirees and an organization for Latino voters. They were looking at getting a temporary restraining order against one of these groups called Clean Elections USA. As if, the elections are dirty and need cleaning, a lot of cleaning, very much cleansing.
Where the water rushes out to sea because you could never handle it.
They got to clean it. Apparently, no. This lawsuit against Clean Elections USA, who is right now, coordinating a campaign of voter intimidation. Voters in Arizona, but in other places, Georgia as well. They're responsible for these armed vigilantes. And so you had a district judge, Michael Limberti, who had ruled first. This was on Tuesday, I believe, that in this case, while there were legitimate concerns about the conduct, that there wasn't enough evidence at the stage to restrict anyone's First Amendment rights. Now think about that for a second. How is sitting there armed at a drop box considered to be free speech? You're not really talking, are you? I guess maybe you're trying to talk with the gun or something. I don't know. But the other thing, the concern is, okay, what about the rights of the voters who don't feel safe casting their ballots at the ballot box? How about that? Well, now there was a second lawsuit following this, which actually convinced Judge Limberti to think, oh, maybe there is something to this whole, voter intimidation thing. In fact, the League of Women Voters who brought this lawsuit showed examples of how this is voter intimidation. And now he said, quote, that he had found the evidence from an article in this suit much stronger, and that he has now heard evidence that we did not hear last week of individuals being harassed and intimidated. Now that ruling, of course, that second ruling, which barred people from sitting, I think, at least around 200 feet. They have to be 200 feet away from the drop boxes now. And so it is a restraining order to keep some of these armed groups away from the drop boxes. And that comes after the Justice Department started getting involved. Now, the allegations they wrote raised serious concerns of voter intimidation, adding that vigilante ballot security efforts and private campaigns to video record voters likely violate the Federal Voting Rights Act. Citizen-led election monitoring activities are more likely to put voters in reasonable fear of harassment, intimidation, coercion, or interference with their voting rights. So it's so sad for Mike Pillow. Apparently, does he still have his camera set up now? I don't think so. At least that's what it sounds like. So I guess Mike Pillow will not be watching you at the polls as long as this ruling stands. Now, here's the thing about the Voting Rights Act. That has been a target of the right wing since its inception. And why? Because it expanded voting rights. They don't want to expand voting rights. In fact, they want to restrict voting rights. And in fact, they even openly admitted that they want to restrict voting rights. To at least certain people. Yes, they do want certain people to vote, for sure. People that they know are more likely to vote for them. That's how that works. And then, of course, trying to suppress other people who they believe will not vote for them. Mainly black people, if we're being honest. So, that's it. There's nothing Republican politicians love more than trying to restrict voting rights based on these absurd notions of mass voter fraud, which they can never seem to prove. Weird how that works out. But anyway, that said, the Voting Rights Act wouldn't allow Republicans to openly do this stuff. For example, poll taxes that they used to do, right? But they had to come out with stealthy ways to try to keep people away from the polls. It's not so stealthy anymore, though. Not anymore. Now they're openly conspiracy theorists. And they're just like, yeah, you know what, fuck it. Let's just put armed people next to the drop boxes or have people film others with cameras. Why not? It's not like we don't have a lot of the courts. By the way, Limberti was a Trump-appointed judge. Just to point that out, they've got the Supreme Court and they've got the House gerrymandered, so they think, why not keep going? Why not try to suppress the vote? Because it's been working so well for us now, so far. Well, now, the sad thing, and there's a lot of sad things here, but the most disturbing, I think, thing about this is that the Biden Justice Department, at this point, seems to be one of the only agencies out there that I know of that's working to protect the voting rights. I mean, I'm not going to count on the Supreme Court to do it. The Supreme Court gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. And now it's massive 6-3 conservative majority. So now we only have the Justice Department, but what if we have a Republican president in 2024, 2028? Well, then it's not going to be our Justice Department. It's going to be their Justice Department. And I mean the fascists. This is why I'm also critical of the Democratic Party, because they promised to do voting rights and couldn't even pass. They couldn't get their entire party on board. Couldn't carve out an exception to the filibuster. Couldn't get Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema to back voting rights. And then just kind of like, I mean, that's no excuse for that kind of disastrous failure. And it really is scary because, look, that's going to lead to the erosion of what little spark of democracy still exists in this country that people like Mike Pillow are actively trying to smother. I don't think some people understand how voter intimidation works. All right, moving on. Arizona voters are fuming over the groups of right-wing vigilantes that had been stalking ballot drop boxes. In fact, there was a recent report from CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan that talked to a couple of different voters in Arizona, and here's what they had to say.
Yeah, I covered my place because they're taking pictures and all that stuff. I mean, this is what we've come to in America, huh? These guys call themselves patriots? Really?
Armed men stalking vote drop boxes, prompting voters to hide their identities, and even cover their license plates as they go to vote.
If a guy's standing over there, he's got his face covered, and he's armed, what's that tell you? They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to vote. And I'm a Republican. But I'm an American first. I mean, it's funny. I mean, I've voted a lot of times. I'm in my 60s, and this is the first time that an election's ever been stolen. Right? I mean, come on.
I could never come down here alone. You know, I couldn't do it myself.
No.
It's scary.
It's just flat out insane. It's voter intimidation.
That same report notes that the people that were watching these ballot boxes are from a group called Clean Elections USA. Their founder, Melody Jennings, often cites the debunked conspiracy theory film 2000 Flushes, I Mean Mules, as the motivation for monitoring voters. Now, trust me, you would probably end up clogging the toilet if you tried to flush 2,000 mules. Just saying.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
Okay. So, look, I've talked about that movie. Not a fan of the movie. It's basically garbage. It's trash. It's not worth using as a coaster. And it's made by convicted and pardoned criminal fraudster Dinesh D'Souza, and makes ridiculous claims, unproven claims, that, you know, people that they refer to as mules are stuffing ballot boxes with illegal ballots. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of right-wingers that fell for it. Like these people.
You've seen it?
I sure have.
What do you think?
I think
Very accurate.
very accurate, and I think they're going to try it again.
We met Enola Gay Bajinska and her son Roger outside an event for Carrie Lake, the Republican election denier running for governor of Arizona. They swear by the movie. How many times have you seen it?
4 times.
I've watched it 3 times.
I bought actually the 2,000 mules to hand out to friends that are non-believers, and they come back and they go, "Oh my God!" I have
How many
no
copies
idea.
did you buy?
All total, I bought 12 copies.
I hand them out to non-believers, and they're like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." Like, what, they had no idea that you were crazy as they back away slowly? I mean, that would be my reaction. But these are the type of people that, you know, encourage idiots to go out and scare the crap out of voters on both sides. Again, you saw that first guy, he was a Republican. And even he hates the idea of Rando Bob sitting out there with an AR-15 trying to, you know, watch you vote. And it's ridiculous. I mean, there's nothing that makes you feel less free than your fellow citizens getting ready to narc on you if you decide to take the ballots of your family members from your own household to a ballot drop box, which is literally the entire point of a ballot drop box. It's legal. You could do that. But look, I think the worst part of this, other than the fact that there are so many people that have bought into this nonsense, is the fact that the whole reason this nonsense exists is because there was one reality show clown's ego that couldn't handle losing. And look, of course, I'm aware that voter fraud allegations have existed long before Trump. And again, infinitesimally small. That's the amount of voter fraud that actually exists in this country. And now we have seen it tick up a little bit. Guess what? Mainly from the right wing. So we're trying to, we are either testing it or, I want to make sure that I can cancel out the additional ballots from Democrats. That's what it is. No, there's the voter fraud, but it's coming from one side. It's the Republicans. And now, by the way, they're all convinced, a lot of these Republican politicians now, that every election that they don't win is going to be rigged and stolen. Funny how that only works out for the ones that they lose. There's no reasoning with these people. They bought into the con man's delusion so much that unfortunately they're happy to destroy this country and plunge it into fascism. Super gross. All right. Moving on. Let's go to some emails. We got emails. On Wednesday, the Washington Post dropped a story that Trump attorneys were hoping that Justice Clarence Thomas would be able to help them overturn the 2020 election. Now, the Post reports that 8 emails, ordered released by the U.S. District Judge David O. Carter of California, included correspondence between Trump lawyers Kenneth Chesebro, John Eastman, and others discussing various legal strategies to convince Republican members of Congress to reject the official certification of electoral votes. That was on January 6th, of course. So, look, Eastman, just to remind you, wrote a memo to Mike Pence saying that if he had refused to certify the election, they could throw out the electors in 7 states that Biden had won and install fake electors to vote for Trump. We'll go through the details. His plan would have seen Pence, of course, determining which ballots were valid on his own. These are electoral count ballots from the states, from the electors, while asserting authority under the 12th Amendment, as well as precedents from Adams and Jefferson. If the state legislators have certified the Trump electors, he would count those as required by Article 2. This is from the Eastman memo, and then add any combination of states that would total 38 elector votes in order to just put Donald Trump over the top. If state legislators had not certified their own slate of electors, Pence would just step in and magically come up with a count of 232 for Trump, 222 for Biden, or alternatively, Pence could determine that because multiple electors were appointed from the 7 states but not counted because of ongoing election disputes. So these are the obviously the claims of voter fraud that were not substantiated and were later thrown out in around 60 court cases. So it's not like that they, weren't litigated. They didn't, make their case in court. No, they made their case and it was garbage. It was a pile of crap. So now Pence, of course, could say that neither candidate had the necessary 270 elector votes, throwing the election to the House of Representatives, where there 26 states would end up going for Trump, 23 for Biden, because again, they had the majority at the time. The one split vote where they could say Trump wins. could also have delayed until the so-called fraud investigations were completed. But, that would have just basically cemented Donald Trump's rule at that point. Obviously, a lot of these were really on very, very sketchy legal ground. And so they relied on Mike Pence as well. Mike Pence, well, we know that he rejected it. Now, in the case of rejection, I suppose, they had a backup plan, go to the Supreme Court. In one email from Cheeseborough to Eastman and several others sent on December 31st, Cheeseborough argued that U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas would end up being the key to asking the High Court to overturn then President-elect Joe Biden's win in contested states. The email said they should frame things so that Thomas could be the one to issue some sort of stay or other circuit justice opinion saying Georgia is in legitimate doubt. Now, that is something that he could actually have done, as he oversees that district. Cheeseborough then went into more explicit detail about the plan. Get any remotely favorable ruling from a federal judge, not to win outright, but to embolden GOP state legislatures, Congress, or Mike Pence to reverse the results. Cheeseborough contended that Thomas will be our only chance to get a favorable judicial opinion by January 6, which might hold up the Georgia count in Congress, to which Eastman had replied, quote, I think I agree with this. So, now, that's disturbing. The fact that Eastman and Trump allies looked at Clarence Thomas and thought, that's the guy. That's the guy who's going to help us out. If we can just get this case to the court, to Clarence Thomas, we can steal the election for Trump. Wow. And again, the reason that they had so much faith in Thomas is because he is not a neutral player. His opinion cannot be trusted on this. The man needs to recuse himself to anything related to January 6th. And here's why. His wife is, of course, Virginia Thomas. She's an election denier. There are texts between her and Mark Meadows about voter fraud, alleged voter fraud, about the election. And look, Clarence Thomas had even voted to block the release of her own text messages to the January 6th Commission. He knows. Everyone knows that he's compromised, that he's corrupted, that he has a massive conflict of interest when it comes to his wife and January 6th. Now, here's what Cheeseborough wrote in one email, quote, if we can just get this case pending before the Supreme Court on January 5th, by January 5th, ideally with something positive written by a judge or justice, hopefully Thomas, I think it's our best shot at holding up the count in a state in Congress. But that's how they tried to steal the election. They damn near got away with it. Damn near. Look, Mike Pence, I got issues with Mike Pence, okay? Don't get me wrong there, all right?
Mike Pounds.
But, yes, he is an awful, terrible person, but the one thing that he will be remembered for good or ill, is saving our form of government, which is bizarre. And look, I hate it because he's loathsome in about 100 different ways. Hated by both the right and the left, for good reason. But he actually did prevent this Trump coup from working. I mean, do you think, Justice Thomas wouldn't have done this? I think he would have. Do you think that Marjorie Greene, if she became Donald Trump's vice president and they tried to do this again, do you think that she would be like, oh, whoa, Mr. President, I can't do that. I can't, whoa, no. No, we can't do that. Well, I believe in democracy. No, you don't.
And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated.
Peachtree dish.
No, of course not. She would be like, oh no, sign me up. How do we steal democracy? Yes, how do we end democracy in this country completely and totally? How many? Where do we start? Where do we start? What do we need to do? How many states do we need? Look, I'm glad it didn't come down to that, and I am glad that Mike Pence did this, but he paid a price. Instead of just being hated by the left, which he'll always be, hopefully, Mike Pence's political career in the Republican Party is toast. He doesn't know it yet, but it totally is. Despite being a massive conservative douchebag and someone who hates reproductive rights, women's rights, and has this weirdo thing with his wife/mother, calling his wife mother. I don't know, very strange person. That said, again, weird times when that's the thing that he'll be remembered for. As for Thomas, well, he needs to recuse himself 100%. He is compromised, absolutely. And, I mean, if he doesn't, there's got to be a way to remove a Supreme Court justice. Unfortunately, or even just to stack the court. But seeing how Biden has done so far, I doubt very much that he would try to pack the court at all. So, yikes. Lots and lots of yikes today. Mountain Dew process rights. Where's my Mountain Dew process rights? She says, you know what? She has the best words. She has great words. Oh my God.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
Yeah, she would probably unleash the gazpacho police. Speaking of police, let's go to the next segment here. A Florida sheriff is not sorry about people taking his advice on looters, which nearly led to a tragedy. On Tuesday, the Orlando Sentinel reported that the sheriff of Polk County, a man named Judd Grady, told his constituents to shoot at home intruders until they looked like grated cheese. He is unapologetic after two of his constituents nearly did that to an innocent person. So now first, let's go to where Sheriff Grady was giving his advice, obviously on Fox News, in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. In this.
People have a right to be safe in their homes. They have a right for their property to be safe, even when part of their home may be torn away. And these looters, that's unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable. I would highly suggest that if a looter breaks into your home, comes into your home while you're there to steal stuff, that you take your gun and you shoot him. You shoot him so that he looks like grated cheese. Because you know what? That's one looter that won't break into anyone else's home.
Grated cheese. Now, do I think that people have the right to protect themselves and their property? Of course I do. But talking about this, shooting someone until they're basically full of holes so much that they look like grated cheese. And that's a pretty cavalier way of telling someone to murder another person. Yeah, even if they're looting, probably shouldn't still murder them. But here's the thing. It's coming from a police officer, a cop. Now, if a cop's telling you to shoot people, you kind of wonder what the purpose of police are. Because look, it doesn't seem to be deterrence. Police being around, not a deterrence. Apparently doesn't seem to be public safety because guys like just shoot people. Again, this officer is telling you to take the law into your own hands and to shoot somebody. And that's exactly what happened. The next week, two of Judd's local constituents opened fire on someone that they suspected as being an attempted intruder. Now, the issue is that she was not an intruder. She was sitting in her neighborhood. She was actually in their neighborhood, sitting in her car on her phone. This is according to a report from Scott Maxwell. Not only that, but the men, a father and son duo, their house had not been burglarized. She wasn't coming into their home. She wasn't breaking into their home. She was sitting in her car, but it didn't matter. They got a Ring doorbell alert that they apparently misunderstood. And, well, what's the first thing when you have a misunderstanding in Florida? Oh, right, you grab your weapons. You grab your guns. And you just start blasting. That's what happened. Now, Judd told a reporter, quote, fortunately, both shooters missed, but were still arrested. They were arrested for listening to your moron advice. They're arrested for nearly murdering someone who was doing nothing. Nothing. Look, shooting, again, if you're going to shoot somebody, it has to be last resort, not the first resort. These guys get a Ring doorbell alert and go, oh, time to go shooting. Oh, I can't wait. Well, let's go blasting, everybody. And what sucks is that the police officer, upon hearing this, was like, that happens. Now, what are you going to do? Judd said on Tuesday that he had zero regrets about urging these citizens to instinctively shoot, saying, well, society can never stop the one-offs in life. Oh, it's just a one-off. Ask that lady who got shot at if that's a one-off for her. You know, for just sitting in her car on her phone. Judd also said that he did not believe that Florida's stand your ground law would apply as a defense for the shooters, since they left their home to pursue the man they shot, or woman. The report noted Florida's stand your ground happens to be a little broad, giving near total immunity to people who use deadly force if they believe a person is an imminent threat of death or serious injury, and if the defendant has a right to be in the place where they feel threatened. That people have successfully applied the law as a defense in several other cases where they left their home before opening fire. One of the most famous cases, of course, is George Zimmerman. Remember George Zimmerman, so-called neighborhood watch guy, chasing after Trayvon Martin because what? He wore a hoodie, he had Skittles and iced tea. Very, very dangerous combination. Oh my God. Super, super dangerous. He was told by a police operator, hey, don't pursue him. Don't run after him. Don't chase after him. We've got it. And you know what? Zimmerman, we all know the story. He did it anyway. He bit off more than he could chew after chasing after Trayvon Martin, and then got his ass kicked, and then shot and killed Martin and called it self-defense. And he got off. So that's a problem. All statements and laws like this do is encourage people like George Zimmerman, cowards, to get themselves into trouble and to fire indiscriminately at people after they have started a confrontation. Or if they're just scared and they see like maybe a black person in the area or a person they don't recognize, oh, well, they blast anyway. Who cares? Shoot them first. Shoot them first. My life, no, not even my life. My property might be in a little bit of danger. Again, I still believe that you have the right to defend your home and your person, of course. But I still also think that it's a dumb idea to have police officers going on national television and telling you, oh, if you feel slightly afraid, go ahead and murder someone. Just shoot someone. Go ahead. Now, the problem is you're more likely to end up killing a family member, a friend, or even an innocent bystander, which has happened way more than people successfully defending their homes against looters. Frustrating. Very, very frustrating. All right, let's move on. Hey, you want to know how the effect of all this, what the effect of all this transgender in bathrooms, laws, and freakouts are? You're about to find out. A TERF was caught on video terrorizing a woman in a public restroom because she believed that that person was trans. Now, this happened at the Rampart Casino in Las Vegas. The short-haired woman, who is a TikTok creator with the name Creating J Rose, was doing what normal people do. She was using a bathroom. When the woman in the next stall began to rant against transgender ideology, trans people in general, teachers apparently teaching trans ideology in schools, well, she decided to film this. And by the way, no one's faces are shown. The camera aimed at the floor because it is a public restroom, so everyone's identities are, protected. Still, here's what happened.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you a man or a woman?
Why does that matter?
Well, because you're in the ladies' room.
Okay.
And I have gotten called out several times for being in the men's room.
Okay.
And you're going to be called out for whatever you're doing. So what are you identifying as today?
I don't think that's any of your business.
Okay, it's not. So you're in the ladies' room where I think I need to identify you.
You do not need to identify me.
Is that right? How old are you?
Doesn't matter.
Really? Okay. So we'll wait for the police to come and pick you up.
Okay. Let's wait for the police to come.
Yeah, because this is not that way you play your shit. Go down on the strip and try to do it there. Don't do it up here. This is a suburb. Not allowed. Not allowed. Yeah, you think you're going to be a woman when it's okay, and be a man when it's okay. No. Figure out your identity in your bedroom, okay? And then project it on everybody else, and we'll accept it. This is not acceptable.
Let's go get security.
Yeah, let's
feel
do
harassed. She's harassing me for being in the bathroom.
What's going on? Well, I'm asking her what her identity is.
It's my girlfriend. It's a full-on
yes,
woman.
It's your girlfriend, so it's a girl.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, there's a lot to say there. There's a lot to say. But let me start out with this, okay? Gee, are we so glad that there are people like that out there, to protect women from harassment? Like, oh, wait. Oh. Gee. This is ironic. And by the way, I just want to go back to one of the more ridiculous things. I keep getting called out for being in the men's room. What were you doing in the men's room? I'm just kind of curious. Like, okay, sure. I don't understand. Look, this woman, it was this woman, had to use the bathroom. That was it. She wasn't doing anything wrong, obviously. She has the right to pee. And you know what? So do trans people. I know, it's a crazy notion. And yet, this other woman, this Karen, felt like, for some odd reason, she had to be the pee-pee police. Super ironic, because there's a part of the video, which I didn't show you, but there's a full video up, where this lady, she's like, I just want to pee in private, as she's yelling inside of her stall about trans people. I just want to pee in private. Well, guess what? That's what that's what Creating J Rose wanted to do too. But you couldn't let her do that, because she had short hair and looked too much like a boy. I thought these people could tell. Isn't that what the TERFs always say? Oh, we can tell. We can always tell. Really? Can you? Didn't seem like you could tell there. Look, now, the creator also said she felt on the verge of tears when leaving the bathroom as a result of this woman's harassment. And she said that when I started recording, I'm a little confused because I've never had a problem going to the bathroom since cutting my hair short. But for some reason, I knew that she was talking about me. And again, that's when she was ranting about schools teaching transgender ideology, and that's making everything messed up. Now, security later on went involved, and this woman revealed that she had decided to target this young woman, to follow her into the restroom, thinking that she was a transgender child, a boy. Again, I thought you could tell. I thought you could tell. And then, of course, the same people who think, oh, no, we can tell. We can definitely tell if you're a transgender. Well, they can never tell because they end up harassing, more often than not, cisgender women, thinking that those are the trans people. Let me tell you, lady, you can't see crap. You can't tell anything. But guess what? Through your actions, we can tell a lot about you. We can tell where you get your news. Newsmax, probably, Fox News, who you follow on social media, J.K. Rowling, what is it? Forget his name now. Matt. That guy. That ridiculous dude. Look, we can also tell that she probably watched that stupid documentary by, Matt Walsh. What is a woman? Now, the other thing that struck me is super messed up is the end, okay, where the boyfriend comes into the picture. As soon as the boyfriend's like, that's my girlfriend. Like, what are you doing? What are you messing with her for? Oh, it's the boy. Okay, so she's a girl then. And? I mean, how feminist of you. Oh, if a man says it, well, then I believe it. It seems like this person, has some pretty big internalized misogyny. Kind of that going on. So, Now, that said, the TikToker said she filed a statement and complaint with the casino, but the casino did not take it seriously. They informed her that they would not be conducting an investigation because what happened was just a disagreement between two people. No, this young woman was targeted and harassed because she didn't look, in the other woman's case, feminine enough. Feminine enough. And also, here, according to her, she says, the casino saying that she was just extremely drunk and that she was sent home for the day, but she was allowed back the next day sober because people make mistakes. No, that's not just a mistake. That's targeted harassment of a transgender person or of something they assumed was a transgender person. Sorry. And if it had been, again, still shouldn't have happened. They're targeting people based on the whole idea that they could possibly be transgender. They just want to pee. That's it. And by the way, this is probably not the first time or be the last time that this woman decides that she wants to play pee-pee police and to go to try to inspect everyone's genitals. Now, the TikTok star influencer said, I'm definitely pressing charges. I'm going to see what my options are against her and the casino. In a statement to LGBTQ Nation, however, the vice president and general manager for the Rampart Casino wrote this, quote, Rampart does not condone this behavior, and this situation is not being taken lightly. Oh, really? We are working with local law enforcement, and the incident is being actively investigated. Again, harassing people in the bathroom is unacceptable. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Cis, trans, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Do not harass people in the bathroom. That's it. They're there for one purpose, and that's to use the bathroom. All this fear-mongering about trans people creeping in on others has ironically made it so that the people who claim to be protecting women in the bathrooms are the ones creeping on not only trans, but also cisgender people. They're weirdo TERFs that are trying to inspect everybody's genitals, playing pee-pee police. It's weird. It's weird. Stop. Just gross. But there is one really interesting, fun part about this, and I love the boyfriend's response. So in another video, here's what the boyfriend said. Quote, we're getting some shit changed in this bitch. Everyone should be able to use the mother effing bathroom no matter what the F you look like or how you ever effing identify yourself. F Rampart Casino in the asshole because this is ridiculous. If my daughter or my friend or any of you guys went to the bathroom and had to deal with this shit, it's effing ridiculous. Stupid. 100%, brother. I could not agree more. Based. All right. There you go. So let's go to, the media. Leading up to Halloween, corporate media had launched into a big fear-mongering campaign over the issue of rainbow fentanyl. Specifically, rainbow fentanyl ending up in children's trick-or-treat baskets. In September, starting at the end of August into September, and all the way up to Halloween, there are about 1,500 articles warning about this, that drug dealers are going to sneak the fentanyl into your kids' candy. So, Halloween's over. How many times has this happened? How many kids accidentally got fentanyl in their candy? None. There have been absolutely no reported cases of accidental child, of a child getting fentanyl in their freaking candy. In fact, there's been not one confirmed report of this happening anywhere. Now, I mentioned this started at the end of August, and it's actually the DEA's fault, partly. So now the DEA had made a press release from that, quoted DEA Administrator Ann Milgram talking about how rainbow fentanyl is, it's being distributed as a deliberate effort by drug traffickers to drive addiction amongst kids and young adults. Now, by the way, this is what rainbow fentanyl looks like. Okay. So there you go. Once again, not a single instance of this happening at all. I mean, look, anybody with a brain thinks about this for like just 2 seconds knows that nobody's going to give out free drugs. Are you kidding me? But there's more. There's more information here. But before I get to that, I just want to say I've lived through a lot of Halloween drug scares. I'm kind of an older guy, so I'm almost 40. And let me tell you, for one, I've never received any drugs in my candy, right? No razor blade, because I remember that was a giant panic too. The needles, I mean, there's no needles sticking out of your Snickers bar, okay? It didn't happen. Nobody's ever even tried to walk up to me and give me drugs. But it didn't matter. It was all over the media. They couldn't help themselves. And by the way, this is corporate media. This is local media. It was freaking everywhere. Now, Republicans, of course, took this issue and they ran with it because, of course, they ran on fear. And they made it into an immigration issue. Oh, the drug smugglers, the drug mules are coming over the border with the rainbow fentanyl. They're going to give it to your children. I'm not kidding. They put out a public service announcement declaring that the, quote, powerful drug cartels are coming after your kids. The rainbow fentanyl. Look, let me tell you who the real drug cartels are, okay? Pfizer. Okay, Merck. All these drug companies, those are the drug cartels in this country. And why? Well, because they sit there and they bankrupt people for life-saving medications and make billions of dollars. And that's, by the way, after the taxpayers had subsidized the development of these life-saving medications. So come on. The Mercers, another good example. I mean, you know, you had the family that pushed OxyContin on people, Purdue's. And so, look, I'm not saying that fentanyl isn't bad and that you shouldn't be concerned about it. Of course, it is a dangerous drug and it is killing people. But you also have to be logical about this and not succumb to, you know, the massive amount of fear mongering. Look, I recently talked about false claims that door handles were laced with fentanyl. And I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the videos of cops passing out because they happened to touch it. But the truth is, they scared themselves. Yet mainstream media continues to publish uncorroborated reports of fentanyl overdose just by touching it. And a survey of first responders in New York found that 80% of them believed that briefly touching fentanyl could be deadly. But that's, again, not the reality. According to the American College of Medical Toxicology and the American Academy of Clinical Toxicology, who issued a joint report back in 2017, pushed back against this. And, you know, that was a long time ago. And we're still seeing these stories of fentanyl. They asserted the risk of fentanyl overdose via incidental transdermal exposure is very, very low. And as far as breathing it in, it would take 200 minutes of breathing fentanyl at the highest airborne concentrations to yield a therapeutic dose. Not a potentially fatal one. And in the very unlikely event of a substantial exposure by either means, the slow onset of opioid toxicity would allow for sufficient time to detect and reverse said toxicity. So, those are the facts. Media, again, has been overhyping the story about rainbow fentanyl. It was covered on ABC's Good Morning America, CBS Mornings, and received heavy rotations on, unsurprisingly, Fox News. Funny enough, speaking of Fox News, there was one person on Outnumbered that actually pushed back against this. I'm surprised, and it was Kennedy, of all people. In an October 7th episode, she correctly noted that drug dealers made money by selling drugs, not giving it away for free. Oh my God, this is someone who actually understands how the market works. Yes, it turns out you're not going to make any money by giving it for free. I know, especially anonymously. Here's her quote on that. I don't necessarily think these are targeting children because they're actually too expensive. No one's going to hand out fentanyl pills on Halloween by the dozens because they are so expensive. They're for partygoers. They're for people who are buying Oxy on the street. And, you know, it's a lot like, it's like a lot of these are painted to look like prescription pills. Now, Dr. Jorge Caballero also pointed out in a Twitter thread, the prescription drugs like oxycodone, either the brand name OxyContin or the generic version, that fentanyl is counterfeited to mimic, come in multiple colors. And the rainbow fentanyl pills in the photograph, this one, featured on the DEA website, bore identical markings, an M in a square and the number 30 over a line as the authentic medicine. So, in other words, illegal pills fashioned to look like legal prescription drugs, Justice Kennedy and actual other experts had observed. Now, there are cases where fentanyl pills were seized by law enforcement inside of candy packages, but that's just one method that they try to get it into the country. Some might even fashion them to look like Skittles. Again, that's another way to try to help the drug dealers smuggle them into the country. That doesn't mean they're giving them away to children in their trick-or-treat baskets. And besides, as they mentioned, it's really expensive. According to addictionresource.net, the street value of oxycodone is around $12 to $40 per pill and around $50 to $80 per pill of OxyContin due to its brand name and longer effective duration. Why would anybody give any of that away? Especially to children. Doesn't make any sense. None of those donuts might actually kill a child outright. And if they did survive, I don't see how distributing them in trick-or-treat candy would help bring sales. Unless you have a house that's giving out something novel like king-size candy bars or a potato. I saw a story about that. You're not going to remember which house gave you what. So are you going to remember what house gave you the fentanyl inside of a candy package? And then are going to go back to that house and buy fentanyl? No, that's ridiculous. Again, you have to use your brain. It doesn't make sense. And if you're still not convinced, let's look at how many cases of accidental ingestion of fentanyl happen among kids 18 or younger. According to a database maintained by America's Poison Centers that is composed of reporting from the nation's 55 poison control centers, recorded about 70 cases so far this year, of which someone under 18 unintentionally ingested non-prescription fentanyl. 60 involve children 2 or younger. Now, again, you know, children, they will get into things. So generally, well, first of all, probably shouldn't be doing unprescribed drugs. That's a bad idea. An even worse idea, allowing those drugs to be accessed by children. Okay. The database, however, does not record fentanyl poisonings by specific type. So again, it's not known how many would have came from rainbow fentanyl. Okay. And a search of news reports since the drug was first mentioned in mid-August turns up only one suspected accidental case of rainbow fentanyl ingestion involving a 2-year-old. So what this is, understand this is a classic moral panic driven by mainstream and cable news and local media. That's it. Again, I'm sure all of us can remember a time where we heard about the candy contaminated with drugs and razor blades, but it doesn't happen. According to University of Delaware professor Joel Best, who looked into the numbers since at least the mid-1980s, was unable to confirm a single report of a child being killed or seriously injured by contaminated candy from trick-or-treating. Best also predicted the media furor would die down after Halloween had passed, saying, I suspect we won't hear much about this on November 1st. And they were correct. Any news organizations talking about rainbow fentanyl today? Were they talking about it yesterday? Were they saying, oh, we didn't find anything? No. You're going to find radio silence on this. Look, the lesson here is your brain. Don't use your emotion. Don't fall for the media fear-mongering. You have to look at the facts. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for going around the nation to meet today. Appreciate that. Let's go to Gabby Mathis on Super Chat with very kind $5. Appreciate that. Don Rose says, my parents always freaked out and checked all my candy when I was a kid. It's always been a parent panic, but it's never been real. Don, I remember that as well. So, yes, I remember the parents checking the candy for the razor blades and then stealing pieces when I wasn't looking. Because I know I had more. I know I had more candy than that. Same. All right. With that. Oh, it's a placeholder panic before the war on Christmas. All right. Let's go to Twitch here. Nothing going on Twitch, unfortunately. But thank you for watching anyway. Oh, thank you, Madi Darno, for the very kind $2. And again, thank you for modding as well our YouTube chat room. All right, everybody. That's it. Let's raid. Let's do I think Nina Turner's going a bit long today, so we'll just raid and see what happens. It was always a mean for my dad to take all his favorite kids. True. True. I gotta inspect them. I'm the candy inspector. How do I expect them, or how do I inspect them without eating them? Nailed it. All right. Again, to everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Please like and share, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Great night. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you.
Oh no! We'll do it live!
Wet acid keyword.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Internet.
I apologize for nothing. I concede nothing.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Fired!